Hello, welcome to this week's astrological transits. And boy, what a week we have. We definitely have some intense aspects coming up this week. It's like it's real pressure. Well, we're watching our power structures showing their cracks and starting to crumble in real time. We have um Mars, the Sun, and Pluto in a big fixed sign T square. And we have, Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius are all involved in this. One question to ask is uh, what isn't represented. In this case, it's the other fixed sign of Scorpio, but we'll get back to that. But anyway, we've got, legal rulings, financial strain, leadership battles, massive response. We also have this week, we have three big things kind of coming up. We've got uh, tomorrow, we've got the Sun square Pluto. And then Thursday, we have Venus um, making the conjunction with Saturn. And then we have this opposition that the third one of these, and we've been building this for a little while. We've got our Mars opposing Pluto. And then right after, and then and then we have our new moon in Taurus. So, a lot of this is about knowing what is true, getting to know seeking the truth, paring away anything that isn't true. Um, the sun is shining the light. Pluto, squaring Pluto is getting into the depths. It's that fire that's burning away the crap that doesn't need to be there. That's not true. Um, it- it's it's a big clarity. It's a big reveal. Things are coming out. It's clutter is clearing up. Things are no longer, if it's not serving a purpose, when we get to Mars, opposing Pluto, if it's not serving a purpose, it's clutter and it needs to go. It's not going to help us go toward the truth. Things that relationship, old ways of thinking, old ways of relating, um, old habits and patterns, that is all falling away. It has to make room for the new way things are resonating to become. Things are changing very, very fast. We also have the coming into that Venus Saturn conjunction on 24th. And that whole series started on the 18th of January, and then it backed up on April 7th, and then now it's moving forward. So that's a big deal. Venus likes to be in Pisces, but it doesn't really like to have to be around Saturn. But when they come together, it again, it likes it either acts as a barrier to um to get in your way, or it creates, it's like putting a plant stake next to a tree. It helps to give it some structure while it grows stronger on its own. So that's what that's like. And then what else did I want to mention before I start moving those around? Our new moon, which is interesting, because it will be in Taurus there, which is solid and grounding, but um, it's going to be in that whole T square, so it could be things that be kind of hard to focus on our blessings while we're feeling, security is kind of elusive and things are sort of beyond our control, maybe, or while we're retaking control, taking a new control, but it's sort of in that confusion of the old pattern while the new one is forming or moving in place. So then we also have a nice dynamic action of Mercury going into Aries, and then Mars entering Leo, and they'll all make some aspects to Neptune. So that's, higher dreams, higher understandings, more personal. It's like a power reset, your own transformation, spiritual growth can start to blossom. And with that, let me just see if there's anything else in my notes. Those are the big ones, and we'll just focus on that and look closer here. So starting today, we can see the sun just moved into Taurus. Interesting that the Pope passed away when the sun was moving into Taurus, when we have the this big T square is coming in, and um, it's like a big fixed energy here, and it's starting to change. And that kind of one thing it ushered in. The moon was involved in that too a couple days ago. Um, so what we have here, we can see the moon or the sun here at 2 degrees Taurus. And yesterday it was making that tight aspect to the tight square to Mars. Now it's just passing as it gets closer to making the T square over to Pluto, and then Mars is continuing to move, and it will still make that whole thing. Let's go a day at a time. So here we are on Wednesday, and then we have the Sun Pluto now. You can see that showing up. The sun is moving there. And um, what else did I want to say about that? At the same time, we have where to go? Interesting. I know what I wanted to mention. That's right. About Mars being in Leo. It is, just gone through an extra long stay in Cancer. And for me, it was like painful because I have so much Aries. It just squared all my Aries stuff. And it's just annoying. So I'm so glad that it's going into Leo. Although it could be a bit dramatic and a bit loud and a bit roaring. But sometimes it feels good to have that more expression. Um, Good parts and bad parts. I thought it was kind of patriotic. I thought it brought out some different sides of the male in all of us, the more protective, nurturing side of that masculine energy. But it was just too long. It went in, what was it, like the end of last year? What was it, like September through like November, or no, it was like no, I'm thinking November, December, and then it went into Leo at the very first part of the year, and then I think it was the end of January that it went back into Cancer, and then we've had ever since now, and now we finally in retrograde and then forward again. So that retrograde is like what took painstaking long. So now it's busted out. It's like into its sister sign. So that should free up a lot of energy. A lot of us, it's kind of like you're in that dream state. We've had that whole Pisces morass of energy, which is good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed learning and going within. But again, my energy just was like getting restless and antsy. And it was like I just like couldn't wait to get going. I felt like a kid in church. It was like, come on, it was 6 year old. Anyway, um, it's all starting to move. That if you've been like feeling like you should be doing things and you can't, and you have to, and you're sort of like, I know I need to, but I'm just not, I can't. It should start to change. Some of those things that we've all been maybe beating ourselves up about, trying to get yourself to motivate yourself, should now get a little easier with having our Mars energy in Leo. And wherever your other planets are, it's still going to increase the energy. So if you have things, more harmonious to that action, that will definitely be better for you. But that's been a long haul. That's been a lot of months. It was like February, March, April, mm, part of last year. It's like we had a good 4 months of that energy, a longer cycle, maybe 5 months if you add it all up. So hopefully we won't see this again. I think it's going to be like 2 years, and then it will retrograde. Mars will retrograde in, I think, Leo, like in 2027, but I don't think it gets into Cancer. So if it is, it's just a toe, but that should be a relief. Okay, so anyway, we still have a fixed sign gridlock here. We've got Taurus, which it should be kind of sweet and sensual, but it's got to deal with a little bit of like a pent up energy of Mars. Now that the kid has just been let out, like or you let the squirrel out of the cage. It's like, and then we've got the Grim Reaper sitting there. It's just like the ray of truth. It's like the big elephant in the room, Pluto. It's going slow now because it's going to go retrograde real soon. Was it May 4th or 5th? Yeah, May 4th. So it's pretty powerful. It's stationing it's not moving. It's not moving very much at all. So it's kind of locked there, like wow, with the sun, and then Mars will move into it. And as we watch that, the sun moves, the sun moves out of it, but still, it's 4 degrees. Mars is over there at 2 degrees on Thursday. But we have the Saturn Venus conjunction on Thursday. So this adds an interesting vibe to the mix. We have that sweetness of Venus loving to be in its exalted sign of Pisces, loves to be there, but it's like, oh, F, F word. Saturn is there. Oh man. But nonetheless, it Saturn will just have to be there. Venus is moving, it's going to pass, and then it'll go over and then conjunct up, beat up with Neptune again. But yeah, it gets to be a little bit in the house, and it's nice home away from home, even though Saturn is there. So it just takes on a bit more serious tone. Um, Maybe really seeing through the veil, seeing what's valuable to you, dissolving anything that's not worthy. Again, this is part of that letting go of things, organizing and anything from that old relationship that's been like a ball and chain to the kitchen drawer. It's a wide gamut, and it depends on where the sprinkling of planets are in your chart. So that is the last one. That has been back and forth. The last one was the beginning of this month on the 7th, and then now it's gonna, be here on the 24th. 25th, we see now it's getting real close. It's just a matter of minutes. On Friday, we have the moon moving into Aries. So that should be kind of interesting too. We have the moon going over Neptune and Mercury while it's involved in this T squares going on. So um, it is very interesting. We have the fixed signs, the square, but then we have some fire energy adding, like egging on Mars. So be careful. It's like it seems like that pent up Mars energy can antagonize Pluto. Don't antagonize or rile up more trouble than you need to. Say your truth and then be done with it. Don't keep ragging over it. Don't keep going over it. I mean, if you need to go over it in your head, but as far as any encounters, say it, say your piece and be done. Otherwise, you're going to get egged on and you're going to provoke a fight that's not necessary or bring on more crap because this is tense energy. This is hard. This is harsh. This could be violent. This could be offensive. This could be really those things where words hurt and they cut through and they'll be always remembered. So it's better to shut up, really. It's better to, I mean, say your piece without being over the top about it. So it's very easy to get over the top, especially again, Friday when the moon moves into fiery Aries, and it's going to bust through illusions and it's going to go and meet up with communicative blabbermouth Mercury kind of energy here and be direct speech. So be very careful. Those emotions can just, with Pluto there can just bubble up and out and blurt out. So if at all possible, to postpone any intense, potentially volatile or encounters that maybe would benefit from a few days of not being in around this type of energy. If you have to, just again, quiet, don't say too much. It's better to be a little less outward with this energy. You can always speak more later, clear the truth up in your own head, but this is volatile. And again, with the moon, Neptune not so much, but it being in a new sign is in a new sign, so it's going to carry that energy. But with the moon there triggering it and Mercury, it's going to be like, the peanut gallery going, yeah, yeah, and it can make you go over the top. It's a good, cheerleaders, but it could make you a little just like Five of Swordsy, just it's a lose-lose, it's like, yeah, you were right, but at what cost, you know? So yeah, that's definitely That's definitely there. And I have to hammer that home myself too, because, a lot of this is hitting my Aries stuff. So I'm gonna, channel. I've been doing some neat meditation on this. And I think that's what we really need to do is kind of lay low and use this as a spiritual meditation, use that energy to raise our own kundalinis and to move that energy upward in your own chakras and if you're into the human design too, we have two extra chakras there that we need to start to become used to in thinking about and let that runnings of in our body. So kind of throw that into the monkey mind, throw that over to that Mercury and Aries, with the moon there. Give it something to do, give it something to focus on that's kind of new and different and fun. So it's not just ragging on complaining and whining or bitching or any version of that. Um, but the Aries stuff, it's upbeat, but it could be feisty, fiery, getting that last word in, some of that kind of stuff, um, cursing too much, saying things too poignantly. Um, yeah, I think you get it. Okay. So moving on. That and then we come into Saturday, which is like ding dong. Here it is. I mean, we're ingressing into it, but here's the actual opposition. And that just, we can go by hours and stuff, but it's later in the day and it's here 3 degrees 39. I got 3:48. Let's see, is it past it? Yeah, see the next day it's past it. So yeah, it's about lined up later in the afternoon on Saturday. So it gets pretty intense. See, the moon is still in Aries. We're just later in Aries, but it's still we got Friday and Saturday. Very, very poignant day. So just a word of the wise. All right, coming into Sunday, our moon moves into Taurus, meets up with the sun, and there we have our new moon. So the new moon in Taurus, I mean, that's the time of year where we want to get going on creativity and and putting some kind of fixed energy in that creative cycle. I mean, we still have this overtones of the Mars Pluto opposition. So it could be a little tense still, but that fixed energy, like again, put it to use, putting something in that monkey mind to think about, putting some new thought patterns that it can gravitate toward and cling on to and think about and something new, that Aries, new thought, new communications, new style, something new. That Ace of Wands kind of energy is like bringing that fire energy, that newness of something, newness of your creativity, of your truth, of your discovery of something um, to channel this energy. And then in the world, it's going to be very, very tense. This is where things could break on a lot of levels. This is, look for some big things socioeconomically, politically. This people are getting, enough with this, like the global empire, this plutocracy, it's coming down. It is, the cracks are in the facade. It is starting to fracture. And this might be one of those January 6th kind of days, um, where it was very tense and we knew that there was something awry, that there was something planned to capitalize on the tense energies of that day and time. Same thing here. So if you can lay low over this coming weekend and just bring the truths out within yourself in a meditative fashion, use this like today's Earth Day. We could start with this whole meditation of that for the week, putting prayers and love over the earth, over yourself, over your people, others, things in your life, and being in a higher place. We don't have to bring in negative energy. It's tense, but calming influence. Like when you're at the scene of a crime, sometimes just being calm, or not a crime, like an accident or a crime, but like an accident or something really upsetting, the more calm you are, the better the whole vibe of the situation will be. Sometimes if all you can do is to put out a calm vibe, that is so necessary because we're getting more tuned into subtle vibes and the psychic energy of things. So putting out, calm vibes during this whole week, knowing that we have this potential of upset and turmoil and like again, violent type of energy, it can be used constructively instead of destructively. Um, yeah, basically that. I mean, I can give you all kinds of analogies, but I think you get it. I think that's the basic core of it. Using that, putting that into something that has a higher purpose and finding some kind of creative flow, creative venue. All right, so that might be what the whole purpose of the, coming toward the culmination of this week, this new moon, grounding this energy, um, grounding this tense, fixed T square. Now, I mentioned earlier, like where's, in a T square, you look for where the energy ain't, and it ain't down here in Scorpio. So this, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees of Scorpio, anything there is like the magnet, the other force, where it's connected to or whatever. So maybe is a uh grounding force or knowing that we can complete this energy, it's like, okay, I know that there's another fixed sign involved. That's, that fluid, watery, emotional kind of response. And we can hold the depth, which kind of then dovetails over with Pluto. We can kind of hold the depth of truth, um, holding the depth of breaking through the lies, of re-establishing a new way of how things are going to form. When we have this crack in the mechanism breaking down, we have to simultaneously have a blueprint or an idea for the new to be put up. So that's part of that giving that, this that's what I was saying, this Aries kind of energy, something, this Mercury in Aries, this Neptune in Aries, the idea, the new idea, that illusion, the new illusion, the concrete form, the truth, that new creative spark. Mercury giving that over to Neptune. And then pretty soon Venus will be over there. As we go into next week, we could see Venus, by the time we're here next week, that will be one of our first major aspects. Venus there about to conjunct over with Neptune. So that will then be putting the blessing on, continuing is what I'm talking about. And then at the same time, you can see, the moon and Jupiter coming together in Gemini. So this is a nice blessing, but we'll get there next week. So big week. Don't let this be intimidating. Go back here. This opposition. We've had a couple of them already. Um, we've been through it now, so just hold the line, hold the thoughts, the intentions, the positiveness of finding truth, of letting truth come out, of speaking truth without over speaking. And the bottom line of all this is within all the tension, we still have a heart. We still should come from the heart. We should still put it through the heart before it comes out through the mouth. Yeah, yeah. All right, that being said, have a beautiful, wonderful, grounded, powerful, structured week. Bye for now.